everybody, welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Wendy Lee, and this is the daily show where we bring you the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight to what it all means. Leading off the show today is Dennis Zen.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of Collider Movie Talk. It's Friday. It's not only a Friday, but it's a glorious Friday for us because some of us will be watching Star Wars The Last Jedi tomorrow at the premiere.
Boo!
Rocha is not happy, but someone who is happy is Perri Nemiroff.
I am happy because really the only thing that could stop me from wearing a Jurassic Park t-shirt today is the fact that we do have the premiere tomorrow. So I'm pretty freaking pumped right now.
Someone who is not going to the premiere is Rocha. I'm sorry.
That's messed up, son. Messed up. But I'll be going to a press screening on Monday night, so that'll make up for it. So I'm going to turn everything off as soon as the embargo lifts, lifts, and I'm just going to turn everything off so I don't hear anything until Monday.
You know what's really messed up, though?
What's that?
That text message you sent me last night.
What?
He sent me the most evil Jurassic World text message I've ever received.
No.
I'm going to tweet it, too.
It was really the meanest thing.
Screenshot it and put it out there.
I'm absolutely going to tweet what I texted her.
Yeah. So for the some of you guys, tomorrow night at 9:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, the social embargo is going to lift for Star Wars The Last Jedi, so you can check out some of our reactions. Christian's going, Mark Ellis is going, Ken Knapsack's going. So check out our tweets. Also, I know Rocha and Riley will be at least shooting a video about the reactions to Star Wars The Last Jedi.
That's how close Riley and I are going to come to the premiere. We're going to be able to talk about people's Twitter reactions, and we're actually going to record it during one of our Christmas parties tomorrow night. We're in our Star Trek, Star Wars.
Star
Wars.
That's why you're not going.
Sorry.
That's why you're not going.
I got Quentin Tarantino on the brain. No. Star Wars Christmas sweaters, and we're going to do a little special compilation of people's tweets about the film and see how excited it gets us going. So stay tuned for that coming out this weekend. So
that was funny.
All right, guys, before we get into our first topic, we had a little bit of news drop. I think it was yesterday. AFI released their top 10 movies of the year for 2017, and I wanted to read that list off and have us discuss it a little bit. So first off, we have The Big Sick, Call Me By Your Name, Dunkirk, The Florida Project, Get Out, Lady Bird, The Post, The Shape of Water, 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri, and Wonder Woman. Perri, you follow a lot of these critics' lists.
Yeah.
What kind of stands out to you?
I think I've seen all of them now. What stands out to me more so is just because we're all in the mindset right now of trying to figure out our top 5, you're going to have a whole bunch of Collider top 5 lists coming your way later this year, and we're all getting ready to shoot those. And when I come up with my own top 5, it's very personal, and I have like my own personal parameters for picking the best of the year in my mind. So I was really curious to know how AFI does it, because also, as Dennis listed them, they're not in any number order. They just picked what they said were the 10 movies of the year, and they say on their website that they recognize the year's most culturally and artistically significant films. And when I keep that in mind, I think every single movie on this list applies. And I know that 3 movies that will likely wind up on my top 5 are on this list. I'm not going to tell you what those are right now because I don't want to spoil my list, but I really do think that this is pretty on point, and I'd have a hard time arguing that, I mean, really any of those should be removed.
For me,
Wow.
I've not seen all of the movies on the list. However, one kind of stands out is Wonder Woman for me. Like,
Ooh.
I don't. Look,
Dennis.
I liked Wonder Woman.
Ladies, you can walk out now.
Yeah. It is not in my top 10 films of the year. Not only is it not in my top 10, it's not even the top comic book or superhero movie of the year. That belongs to Logan. It's not even my second favorite comic book superhero movie. Yeah, I have Spider-Man Homecoming above it. Yeah. So it's like in that third spot. So I don't... Look, I liked it. I thought it had a lot of flaws. Rocha, you seem to have a different opinion.
Yeah, no, I think what you read off, right? Culturally significant.
Yeah.
There's no way to ignore that definition and not have Wonder Woman in there. It changed the game completely, female superhero wise. And I agree with you. I still think Logan is a better film for me. And I would rip out like 3 of these films right now and replace them with 3 other films myself. I would absolutely put Blade Runner 20. I'd take Dunkirk out, put Blade Runner 2049 in there. I would absolutely put Phantom Thread in there, and I would I would argue for Logan. Why isn't Logan in this? Like, this is ridiculous. Three Billboards is a good film. It's a fun film. It's an enjoyable film. It's a nice fantasy film to a degree, but it is in no way better than Logan. There's no way you can tell me that film is better than Logan. There's so much going on in Logan that appeals to me more. And Three Billboards is a nice exploration of what it's like to be a human. And The Post, people are like, it's a nice film, but I can't connect to it. So this is what I'm hearing over and over again from people. So for me, those are the three that I would definitely move out.
The Post fits so perfectly with the idea of just being culturally significant right now and significant to what we're going through. And for anyone who's told you that they can't connect to the movie, in my review, I did say that it takes a little time for that movie to get going. But Meryl Streep in that movie, if you are not connected to her by the end, I mean, really, there was an audible response from the crowd that I saw it with where her character gets to towards the end of the movie. And I felt that. I felt that on a personal level with applying her own experience to things that I do in my own life, but also I connected to her as a person and a character and what she struggled through in that movie. So I don't know. I'm just trying to give you a different side to that idea.
Absolutely valid, but then you can argue Darkest Hour should be in this list because people connected and gravitated to Gary Oldman in that film, and it also supports Wonder Woman being on this list because people love what Gal Gadot did in that film, the journey she took them on, and the way she was able to progress as a character from this, for lack of a better term, unexperienced or naive in the world person, and how she progresses through by the end, where she's this very powerful superhero as she flies off the building.
And
so to me,
fights Garbage Man or whatever.
Well, that's well, you might as well just strike out every Marvel film then, or most Marvel films, you know. But I think the film itself says something about it, and sometimes you don't have to choose the greatest film. You choose the one that's culture significant. That's what they said, and this absolutely changed the world. And if it's the best DCU film they've ever done, it deserves even more credit for that.
Yeah, but I just can't see the inclusion of Wonder Woman and not having Logan on this. Look,
I agree.
I haven't watched all of these movies, so I can't say which ones, you know, there's certain ones that I personally wouldn't put. I wouldn't put Wonder Woman. I wouldn't put Dunkirk on that list. Yeah. There's a few other that I haven't seen, but I just can't see why Logan, which I think is a far superior film to Wonder Woman, isn't on this list.
I think Logan is the better film, and it is far higher on my personal ranking of the year. But given what they say on their website, if I'm applying that to these movies, there is no doubt that I would have picked Wonder Woman for this list over Logan. It goes back to what we were talking about the other day with the Time Person of the Year thing, and they did this incredible profile on Patty Jenkins because she was number 7 on that list, and just the way she treats a female hero in that movie and a female superhero movie, accomplishing things that were thought to be difficult, if not impossible before, and the way she presented that. I mean, one of the things that really stuck out in that piece that I brought up on the show yesterday was the idea of how it's not necessarily just a straightforward battle of good versus evil, how she's the type of hero that recognizes, I love you guys, but I don't like what you're doing right now, so I have to put a stop to it. And it's just that kind of thought process and that kind of representation of a female hero, that's something that's going to reverberate throughout the industry. Absolutely. Just like Patty Jenkins' accomplishment as a director and what it means for her in terms of even just her paycheck for Wonder Woman 2. These are the types of things that we're going to feel for years to come in the best possible way. And that right there is why I think that is a lock on this list.
Is Spotlight better than The Post?
She hesitated. I'm gonna say yes. In my opinion, I'm gonna say yes.
You saw The Post? Yeah.
Yes, I saw The Post, and I can see both of your points, how people couldn't relate to it. Like when my husband and I watched it together, like the first half of the movie was really hard for the both of us to connect to. And I think by the end of the movie, though, when you see Meryl Streep transform into who she is and she just comes through, it is absolutely wonderful to witness. And that last 10 minutes of that movie made all the difference to me.
Okay.
The reason I paused, by the way, though, is because I think Spotlight is the better film. I still think The Post is great, but also Spotlight is also the stronger ensemble film, which is something I would have liked to have seen a little more, despite how good Streep and Hanks are in The Post.
All right, that's it for this topic. Wendy, what's our first official topic?
Well, we're going to keep fighting about Wonder Woman because it does belong on that list. But according to a report from Variety, Warner Brothers is planning to shake things up and will be reconstructing its DC film operation following the box office disappointment of Justice League. Jon Berg will exit his current job running the comic books film production division, with a search now underway for his replacement. Geoff Johns is expected to continue serving as DC Entertainment's chief creative officer. Also buried in the article is the news that while Ben Affleck is expected to appear as Batman in a standalone Flash movie, Variety says it's highly unlikely he will appear in Matt Reeves' Batman movie, as the director is set to want to cast the role with fresh talent. Dennis, thoughts on DC Films reconstructing after the disappointing Justice League?
No, we're moving on to another non-controversial subject matter here. Not surprised, really. I mean, Justice League, as of Wednesday, has made $201 million. That is still less than what Avengers made its opening weekend. I mean, that if you don't think that's a disappointment for them, this restructuring is proof of that. This kind of regime, this was kind of like their last shot. I mean, Batman v Superman. Well, I think ultimately, it either broke even or maybe made a little bit of money. That is not what they were hoping for. And unlike Las Vegas, when you break even with movies, it's more of a loss than a win. And as far as this Batman thing, it's been speculated for a while that Ben Affleck was going to return as Batman. It seems like he's going to come back for that cameo in The Flash, especially because of how his relationship with Ezra Miller's Flash was in Justice League. It makes sense, but it seems like Matt Reeves maybe will go to a different time period in order for them to explain, like, okay, this Batman or Bruce Wayne is going to be maybe 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. And so they're looking for some new faces. Perri?
With the Batman stuff, I really want a standalone Batman movie with Ben Affleck in the lead role. I've been looking forward to that ever since they first announced that he was going to play the character, and I thought he was great the first time I saw him in the role. I wanted more of it. I am so sick of this topic, though. Just let him go. If this is not going to work out for him, let's just move past it already and cast someone new and start to look at this all in a new, fresh way. Maybe they can do a graceful, story-appropriate exit using Flashpoint, but I think I'm just so sick of talking about this, and I want to be happy about him having the role, and this is kind of ruining my joy of that. So I do want to get past this. And that kind of also ties into how I'm feeling about this whole restructuring idea. I really think that the only way they could not necessarily turn this around, because I really don't like the idea of them backtracking on some of the good things they've established and starting with a fresh slate, because look at Wonder Woman. I really liked what I got from Flash and Cyborg. I am looking forward to James Wan's Aquaman, but I think they've dug themselves such a deep hole that one of the things that would maybe be in their best interest is to just kind of cut the cord and start fresh, just from a business perspective. From a story perspective, I would miss certain things that I fell in love with. But the major thing here that has me most concerned is the idea of folding these DC films into the main Warner Brothers film production unit, rather than having DC Films be its own entity. Kind of like, I know we don't like the DC Marvel comparison, but if you're going to copy anything that Marvel's doing, I think the creative freedom that they have with the Marvel movies, I think that's something that works in its favor, and I think that's a problem we've been having with these DCEU movies. So no matter who is in charge, and I hope they do put someone who's great in that role in charge eventually, I really wouldn't mind them going the opposite route of what this piece suggests, and making just DC Films its own thing and giving them creative control.
Rocha?
Yeah. I mean, how many times can we talk about this? Ben Affleck, it's like a Taylor Swift song. We are never, ever getting back together. Enough already. Just leave. Yeah, you called me last night. You said you still love me. You want me back. Oh, whatever. I can't do it anymore. Leave. Let's get this over with. The relationship is done. Let's break up. And so, and I love Ben in the role. Absolutely love Ben in the role. But Perri, you're right. At some point, we got to just cut the cord, because enough is enough already. And Matt Reeves really, and Warner Bros. Should come out and say, it's over, Ben is done, we're not going to do it. And so hopefully this restructuring in January will be followed by statements that are very definitive, give hope to the people who love DC comic books, DC characters, and love what might happen here. I agree with you. I don't think DC should be moved into the fold, because if you look at Toby Emmerich's track record, it's spotty. It's good, but then he's got a lot of crap on his list that he executive produced. So there's a balance there that you got to find. You want to put someone in charge. I think Geoff Johns should be moved in charge, be made, because he knows so much about the comics. Yes, has he always written the greatest comics? No, but he's done really great work on so many different titles and so many different new and exciting ways to take these characters in the comics. So let him have a shot at this. He'll bring in Jon Berg. They'll work together. Then other people come under them. And you do the Aquaman film, make it happen, maybe even try to take as much connections to the DCU out of it instead of putting in it, and then let the Flash film be its own. But then you give Matt Reeves autonomy. Let him create this world of Batman. Don't have him connected to DCU. Let him create a trilogy. He can spin off Nightwing, spin off the Birds of Prey, spin off the Harley Quinn movie. All of that can happen off what Matt Reeves is doing. So do the Aquaman, do Wonder Woman 2, do Flash, and then you cut the cord on that old DCU and you start over again with Matt Reeves' whole Batman world as your tentpole, and then push everything off of that. Nobody's talking about is Superman. What happens to Henry Cavill, who did a fantastic job in Man of Steel, and I loved him for the scenes in Justice League. Even when you got past the mustache, he's still my Superman. I like him as Superman, but it seems to me like no one's even considering what to do with him. And if I was Cavill, I would break up. I'd be like, look, you don't know what to do with me. Screw it. I'm out of here. If you're not going to give me a sequel, because what they may do is just have him like pop in and out, like they're going to do with Wonder Woman. Like they're essentially going to turn Wonder Woman into Iron Man. We're going to have her launch everything like they do with Marvel. Put him in Spider-Man Homecoming, put him in this and that. And if you're a DC fan and you bitch about Marvel and Iron Man's and everything, and you're clamoring to have Wonder Woman and everything, look at your hypocrisy. So this are the things that we have to do. Create this separation, eventually, like Perri was saying, cut the cord, push it out to sea. We gave it a shot. It's no good. Start over again with Matt Reeves' trilogy, and then, branch everything off of that.
Well, Perri brought up an interesting point, which is that WB wants to fold DC more into it. And the problem is it never was a separate unit like Marvel was. So they kind of, and that
it was more like what they did with the Dark Universe, because now I have that visual just like burned in my mind of an entire office set up on that lot with monster type decorations inside that's now half empty. That it's so disturbing how that's how I keep picturing these gigantic franchises that keep taking that cart before the horse mentality, where it's like, I know, roll your eyes about the copying Marvel thing, but that is what so many film franchises / cinematic universes are doing. They're going after the bigger picture before they create one good, solid starting point.
Yeah, but then also with, the reports on Justice League, it seems like they didn't really let go. It's like, okay, be your own thing, but then they kept prodding and poking and changing this and changing that, and so now they're going to fold it completely in. So I don't know if that's going to help or not. It's just maybe it is better just because at least there's kind of something decisive, right? It's not like in between the middle where it's like, okay, you're separate, but we're going to keep like messing around with all the stuff. I don't know. It could be good. It could be bad.
I don't want him folded in. Because I think they should be separate. I think they should do their own thing, have a chance to create your own world, and have minimal input. Because that's what we see with Feige is in charge of this thing, and Disney has input, but minimal input because they trust what he's doing.
Well, they're making money. That's the point. When you're making money, they'll give you the more creative freedom and trust they're going to give you.
And people need to stop saying, "Oh, it made $600 million worldwide. How is that a bomb? How is that a failure?" It is when your budget's $300 million. You have to make 2.5 times your budget standard to make money. So don't give me this crap that it made $600 million. It shouldn't be considered a failure. It's a failure, and that's the and you have to accept it, own it, then ask for change and make it better. That's.
All right, let's move on to the next topic. Wendy, what do we got?
This past week, Deadline revealed that Quentin Tarantino and J.J. Abrams are developing a new Star Trek movie based in part on an idea from Tarantino himself. Now, Deadline again is reporting that Tarantino met for hours in a writer's room with Mark L. Smith, Lindsay Beer, and Drew Pearce. And it is Smith, writer of The Revenant, who has emerged as the frontrunner to take on scripting duties. The trade also reported that Tarantino has required it to be R-rated, with both Paramount and Abrams agreeing to the condition. Rocha, thoughts on an R-rated Star Trek movie developed by Quentin Tarantino?
I think this is a great idea. I really do. If you're going to expand a franchise, especially after Star Trek Beyond, which was a glorified episode, and I love Star Trek, love it. If you're going to do something with it, you got to do something new. And Quentin Tarantino would be fantastic, especially when you come on the heels of Voyager. Voyager already had like cussing in it. You had a Klingon sex scene where you could see.
You mean Discovery?
I'm sorry, Discovery. What did I say?
Voyager.
Oh, Voyager, right? Voyager, whatever. But no, Discovery. Like you had the sex scenes, you had all this kind of stuff. So it was already going towards already. And people are like, "Oh, you're going to ruin Star Trek because it's about kumbaya and the Federation and blah blah blah." In the real world, there is cussing. In the real world, there is sex. In the real world, there is war where you kill, friendly fire. There's all kinds of things that can happen. And Star Trek has already tackled these very hardcore issues about people being drunk with power, people letting their personal feelings get ahead of, even Kirk in Star Trek 6 says, I'll never forgive the Klingons for killing my son. There's so much to explore that's real in the Star Trek universe. And if you go to the R rating, you can make it work. And I think Tarantino is an incredible person to choose to do this. And it's a way to kind of put a shot in the arm of the franchise already, because people were mad about Into Darkness, people were about Beyond. So, and people love the first reboot film. So let's do something new and interesting and exciting. And if you want to make the franchise and property come back to life, I think this, on the heels of Discovery, I think this is a way to go.
Yeah, I'm all for this. It would have never crossed my mind, though. I never would have thought, Tarantino's going to develop a R-rated Star Trek movie. I didn't know he was a fan of the franchise. The one thing of note, though, is I don't think it's confirmed that he's directing the movie yet, that he's just developing it. And so this R rating that Paramount and Abrams have agreed to, I think that's contingent on if he's going to direct it, because I don't see the point if he's not directing it and someone else comes in and they do an R-rated film, because then there's less of a draw there. Perri, what do you think?
I think the plan is he pitched this idea, they liked it, and then they assembled that team to kind of develop it, and then they're going to pick a winning screenwriter out of that group, and then we're going to get, while he's making that movie next summer, they're going to write the script, and then in the end, he's going to make the decision whether he wants to direct or not. But more so than the R rating, I love Quentin Tarantino. I'm going to watch anything he's going to make. I will watch this if this winds up panning out the way they're saying, but does his style really suit Star Trek? And I did that video with Jason and Ashley yesterday, and I've seen all the new Star Trek movies. I dabbled into some of the older episodes when we did Star Trek Convention earlier this year, so I really started to gain a new appreciation for it. What crosses my mind, though, is when I went to that Star Trek Convention and talked to just so many huge fans there, so many of them, it was a shared family experience. They got into it when they were so young. So the thought of not only applying an R rating to it, but applying a Tarantino-style R rating, I imagine that could completely eliminate a younger audience. And just given how moving their stories were and how it changed their lives from such a young age, I think that would upset me a little. But if I'm looking at this from a selfish standpoint, as someone who likes R-rated things and likes Tarantino, this definitely rekindles my interest in Star Trek, because even though those movies were great, they certainly weren't, give me more, make this a gigantic franchise on par with other things that are making whoever knows how many movies right now.
Yeah, but I do think that also the success of Star Trek Discovery on CBS All Access, which, Rocha, you mentioned, is more adult. There's a little bit swearing. There's more adult themes in there. And maybe they're just going to go with, let's be honest, the Star Trek average audience is much older than, let's say, Star Wars, right? So in the recent years with the J.J. Abrams reboot, they've been trying to bring in a younger audience. What if they've decided, screw it, let's just go with what we've got and go with this R rating and bring in that audience? But then again, you got maybe hardcore Trekkies that won't like this move, right? Because they're used to the original series or Next Generation.
Yeah, but some of the fan fiction has been R-rated. Some of the novels that have come out through the years have really explored some very darker things. So it's there. The framework is there. The matter is finding the right director to bring that out and bring it to life and make it fun. And I think Tarantino is the one to do it, because he's, like I've said before, he does the blaxploitation stuff. He does that 70s. He does a great thing of bringing the martial arts movies. He brings them into the mainstream without losing what makes those things so great to the people who love those niche type films.
But are you guys concerned? Because one of the concerning things for me is the fact that he's not writing it. Because all his movies he's written, or at least co-written with someone else. This would be a movie that someone else has written. And what if Tarantino just takes a look at that script and is like, that's not me?
I wouldn't be concerned. I think that's definitely a possibility. And if that's the case and they still really like the script, they'll just find someone else to direct it. It's not like Tarantino is the only really talented director out there who could do great work with something like this. But with It's a tough thing to figure out too, because then, yesterday when we were doing that video, we were also playing with percentages and the likelihood of all this panning out. And I consider the idea, that Tarantino did put a cap on the amount of films that he wants to make. And really, he is the kind of guy who, he's got the Screenwriting Academy Awards. He directs things that he writes, and it would feel funny to me after all this time for him to end on a movie that he's going to direct but didn't write. But why would he get involved at this point like this if he wasn't willing to commit to something somebody else wrote?
Well, he did. He wrote True Romance, and Tony Scott directed that.
Yeah.
So,
but that was earlier in his career when he didn't have the power to do that.
But my thing is this: I think he understands that he doesn't know Star Trek that well. So it's smart to hand it over to people who may know it very, very well, to let them take a look at it, write a great script, and then he can direct that great script. That's certainly, because then there's extra time put in to research watching all the episodes, characters. It's an incredible world to walk into, but you certainly can't do it in a year, especially as busy as he is. So I think it's smart to see what they can come up with. And it doesn't mean he can't just jump on and see what they wrote and then write his own stuff based on it.
Yeah, I think that's more likely scenario. I think he's going to see it, take the stuff he likes and then remix it for his purposes. Yeah. All right, Wendy, what do we got?
After a number of trailer teases and a behind-the-scenes video, the first trailer for Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom has finally landed online. EW recently revealed that the plot revolves around Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard returning to the remains of Jurassic World in an effort to save the dinosaurs from a second extinction after a volcanic eruption threatens the island. Directed by J.A. Bayona, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom hits theaters on June 22nd, 2018. Perri, what did you think about the first trailer for Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom?
So I didn't watch it when it hit online last night because we were going to do a trailer reaction when I came into the office today, and I did one with Thad, which you can look out for on the channel really soon. So I finally did get to watching it. It was impossible last night to ignore the uproar over it, and it was also impossible to ignore a certain someone's text message where he basically shat all over it. But I did finally obviously get around to watching it, and I can't sugarcoat it. I was disappointed. And just like I brought up in that news video the other day, I don't like the idea of the volcano. It feels cheap. I don't care if it's in the source material. It's the same thing if you want to think about elements from the first film that they bring back here. Just because it was in the first film doesn't mean I have to be happy about it. Just like with the volcano stuff, the way they're incorporating it into the story feels like a really cheap blockbuster action trick. That volcano was never mentioned in the first film, and there's absolutely no build to it having any value right now other than that crazy shot of dinosaurs running down the mountain with lava and explosions all around them. So this trailer did not convince me of that. But while I was talking about it with that, one idea did pop into my head. And so you're watching this trailer and you see all this action and you think, oh, this looks like the third act of a film. What interests me more, especially because where we have Jeff Goldblum pop up and he's saying things like, should we, do we need to save them? And, where do we fall in this in terms of animal rights? What are we responsible for? What do we owe to them? When you consider that, what if the volcano explodes earlier in the movie? And then the gist of the movie is essentially exploring that and what Claire's group is trying to do, and maybe getting into a little of animal rights policy and the idea of creating your own dinosaurs and having patents on things. That's the kind of stuff that intrigues me. So it might sound like I'm making excuses for this, and maybe I am, because I'm a huge Jurassic Park fan, and I want, more than anything in the world, I want this franchise to veer back towards the first film in particular, and I do like Lost World quite a bit. But I wanted to just feel real and a little more grounded, and obviously a little less digital too. And I think that exploring those kinds of ideas could wind up making this a great movie. But based on what I saw here, there is nothing in this trailer that makes me think, oh, it's going to be anything other than another Jurassic World, and that was a big fat CG action, fest. And then I see nothing in this trailer that says to me, oh, this is a movie directed by J.A. Bayona. So not entirely hopeful, but I am I'm going to grasp at straws to find some hope. And, this is a first trailer. It's a first trailer. We're going to see more of the story in the second one, hopefully a little more direction, maybe in the way that I'm predicting and hoping right now. But I'm disappointed.
So you're like Rocha when he watches a Transformers trailer, right? Like he's just grasping at straws to make himself feel better.
Well, not entirely.
Yeah.
This is the first glimpse we're getting at a brand new story. I feel like we were still having these same conversations with Rocha like 10 trailers in.
Rocha.
Yes.
You love this trailer, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
The greatest trailer ever. I mean, here's my tweet to Perri. After seeing that Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom trailer, something occurred to me. If you're a fan of the Jurassic Park franchise, I can relate to you. I also enjoy a franchise with only one universally beloved film in it. #Transformers. Yeah, that's right. Listen, you can make excuse. All those other Jurassic 2, the last, whatever that was, the one around a blockbuster, stupid. Fallen World, whatever that third one was, terrible. The Jurassic World was terrible. But I think Perri's point makes sense. This idea that they're trying to do these homages to the first film in these films, that's where they're making the mistake, I think. Make it its own thing. Make it new. I hated that homage stuff all through Jurassic World. It drove me insane. And why are you bringing kids back onto another island? I mean, I just don't get it. And the only reason Chris is going back is because the little blue, F all that. I just survived almost dying. I'm going to go back and risk my whole life for this. It's just ridiculous. It has so much of the trailer. And the thing is, and Perri, you may be grasping at straws, and I respect that because I did that with Transformers films. But like, I understand what you're trying to do because you love this franchise so much. You want it to be better. You want to see these things. But this is the first trailer. And there was a lot of backlash against Jurassic World. So come out with something that makes it new and distinct and different. There's no story in here other than I'm going to go back and get my little blue. And then we do this scene again. We got this scene again. And then the whole volcano stuff. And you're just like, why are they on? This is so stupid. And it breaks my heart because I want to enjoy these movies. And I've gone to see every single one of these in the theater. But they never pan out the way that I want them to pan out. Enjoy. Much like people complain about Transformers movies. They never end up being how they want them to be. It's the same thing with Jurassic World or Jurassic Park.
So, like Transformers, this is actually going to open the weekend of my birthday.
Are we going to do another movie screening for your birthday?
Yeah, I will go to this.
Yeah. I'm hoping it's good. I actually am one of the people who enjoyed Jurassic World for what it was. I like the fun. I think maybe that's also why I'm not so hyped on this trailer. There was kind of this fun factor with Jurassic World where they go to the theme park and you see the children and the adults and the families enjoying this. And this is not. This is like you're going to some place and it's all gloom and doom. The visual effects seem pretty well ahead of time. I mean, it's coming out in June, so they still have time to work on it. It looks good. But I mean, yeah, I just didn't have that feeling. I mean, J.A. Bayona, he did, what was that movie last year, the end of last year? He did
Monster Calls.
Yeah, I really like that.
Oh, that's a great film.
Yeah, so hopefully we can see some sort of, or is this going to be by the numbers? Like, okay.
I feel like you're trying to talk me through it right now. Yeah. You're like looking into my soul.
Yeah, with the volcano, the explosions. I mean, there is literally a shot in this trailer where it's just like him running and there's explosions behind him. Yeah. Is this like a Dante's Peak sort of situation?
Didn't that feel like Peter Jackson's King Kong sequence where they're all running with the dinosaurs around the edge of the cliff? Yeah. It just felt like the same thing. It felt like the same CG too.
Yeah.
Well, there are a lot of shots that felt like they came from the original too. It's like I was just talking to Thad before we started the show with that tree, if it's the tree that they hid behind in the first one. The one shot I will say I think was my favorite shot of the entire thing is when you see the
No.
When you which one?
I said Jeff Goldblum.
Well, no. I mean, I had a feeling, and it's like I think we were talking about it yesterday, and I made the prediction of all lines they're going to go with that one. No, I'm talking about the one in the gift shop with all the toys, and then you have the little compy that
dinosaur.
moves.
Yeah.
Like that to me, that's chilling. And you could hate on Lost World all you want. I do like that movie quite a bit, and that's like a way to make me think back to that beginning scene of Lost World without actually being like, oh, look at what we're doing right here, because I immediately go back to what they're capable of. And there's a lot of big like hero-ish dinosaur moments in this trailer, and they didn't really mean all that much to me. And the T-Rex one I think was the most disappointing of all, because I love that with Jurassic Park in particular. When you take those dinosaur roar sound effects and put them anywhere else in the world, like in another movie, I've seen them do it in movies and TV shows. If I hear that sound, I know exactly where it came from. I should have chills when that T-Rex swoops in and he roars just like he did in the first film. And I didn't really feel anything at all.
Oh, a little numb.
All right, guys. Now we're moving on to buy or sell. Wendy, what do we got next?
Variety is reporting that breakout star from Borg McEnroe, Sverrir Gudnason, has landed the role of Michael Blomkvist in The Girl with the Spider's Web. Oh, wow, I'm sorry, guys. Sony sequel to The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. The part was originally played by Daniel Craig. Gudnason joins Claire Foy as Elizabeth Salander in the movie set to be helmed by Don't Breathe's Fede Alvarez. The new installment will begin production in January in Berlin and Stockholm, with the film set to hit theaters on October 19th, 2018. Dennis, buy or sell Sverrir Gudnason as Michael Blomkvist?
Well, I haven't seen Borg McEnroe yet. Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to it, especially Shia LaBeouf as McEnroe. I actually enjoy the American version of Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, but I didn't really need a sequel to this. And then you have Blomkvist, he's replacing Daniel Craig. You have Claire Foy, who I very much like from The Crown, replacing Rooney Mara. But then also you have the director being replaced, David Fincher. I'm going to buy it tentatively, but I think I need to see a teaser trailer to see. This is basically almost, I know it's a continuation of the franchise, but it's almost like a reboot in a sense, because you're replacing so many things. Rocha?
Yeah, I like Gudnason. Gudnason, I'm a big fan of the Wallander detective series, the original detective series, and he was part of that, so it was nice to see him in there. And so I like it's a nice choice. And I think the fact that they're using European actors means they might get more hardcore than they did with the Rooney Mara, Daniel Craig version, which I thought, because I'd seen all the originals, really Americanized it and made it softer, made her less of a proactive participant in the destruction of the people she was going after. That rape scene where she fights back against that guy, it is way more graphic in the original version, and it's beautifully way more graphic. And the ending is more graphic, and she's more of an active participant in making a decision about life and death. And I thought they undercut Rooney Mara's character by taking that away from Elizabeth Salander. So I like this. I like this guy's a good mix, and I think Claire Foy is fantastic. I'm a little worried about it because I'm so used to seeing Claire Foy as Queen Elizabeth. Yeah, it's really hard for me to see her as this really hardcore computer programmer or computer hacker. So I'm looking forward to see what Claire does with it. I'm excited.
Perri?
I guess I'll buy it. If we're talking about the casting, I mean, to be honest with this, it's one of those things that I don't really care about. I did like the Fincher movie, but like you, Dennis, I was not clamoring for another one. I think I'm more open to this one because it is feeling like a bit of a soft reboot where maybe it is connected story-wise, but I do like the fact that they're wiping the slate clean with the cast and just starting fresh, because that's kind of the only reason that I'm a little more open to it than I might have been had they continued what we got in the last film. So I'll buy it for now.
Okay. All right, Wendy, what's next?
Variety is reporting that Logan director James Mangold has settled on his next project, an adaptation of Jeffrey Toobin's best-selling novel, American Heiress. With Elle Fanning in talks to play Patty Hearst, the book-to-movie adaptation will tell the story of Hearst's kidnapping by the Symbionese Liberation Army, where she later reemerged as a member of the left-wing terrorist group. 20th Century Fox is backing the project through its Fox 2000 label, with a release date yet to be determined. Rocha, buy or sell James Mangold helming a movie about the kidnapping of Patty Hearst?
Shout out to Ray for that graphic. That's a great mixture of Elle Fanning as Patty Hearst. This is a story I've known for quite some time, and when you grow up around this time, you hear the stories, and it's been told, TV movies and articles, and things have changed, and you watch documentaries, National Geographic, History Channel, they've all done documentaries on Patty Hearst. She's a very interesting character. Do I buy? I buy it in the sense that if James Mangold wants to do it, great. And if it's a best-selling best-selling book, that means people still want to know more about Patty Hearst. She's an interesting character, the granddaughter of William Randolph Hearst, who of course is the character that Citizen Kane is based on. Yeah, is based on. And there's so much involved here because she was a rich girl. She got kidnapped from college, and people were trying to find her, and then she got converted, and then she committed the bank robbery, and the Stockholm Syndrome comes out of this. So there's a lot that's involved here. I'm just like, do we need to go back to the 70s? Aren't there more topical things we can talk about? And I would have liked to have seen, because we got Tarantino 69 now, and we got this. So to me, I'm like, can we move on? The Post, can we move on from the 70s? And there are other eras or decades that we can tackle, and I'd rather do that. But because it's Mangold, I'll buy it.
Yeah, this is like the poster board for examples for Stockholm Syndrome,
Yeah.
the Patty Hearst thing. I'm going to buy it because of Mangold. We had talked, I think, last week about another movie that he was involved in, which was Crenshaw, the imaginary big cat, which I thought was a surprise choice. Apparently, this movie he's going to do first before he does that one, and this one seems more up his alley. But it's interesting too because with Logan, both the critical and financial success of it, he kind of could have done whatever he wanted, right?
Yeah.
He could have gone into, taking a DC movie or another Marvel movie or Star Wars, or he could have explored those things, go into another franchise. And it seems like he's not choosing to do that. I think this is by choice, not by, it's not like he's being forced to do these things. So it's interesting he's going that way instead. Perri?
I'll buy it. The only reason I was thinking about selling it was because I really like the idea of him doing that Crenshaw movie, and now all of a sudden that's going to be put behind this one. But really, I'll watch anything he attaches himself to, so I'm excited about that. And also, I'm really excited about Elle Fanning in this role because she is so incredibly talented. A perfect example is a recent movie, The Beguiled. Her role in that movie is one of those kinds of performances that requires you to be able to look in her eyes, whether she's saying something or not, and see the wheels in her head turning. And when you think about this being the example of Stockholm Syndrome, you need someone who can give you access to a character like that to really get the full range of what she's experiencing. And I think it could be a perfect pairing. So between the two of them, I'm definitely buying this.
Yeah, and I think this is just Mangold's sensibility, Dennis. Like the two times he's tried to branch out and do bigger films with Wolverine before Logan, and also with the one with Tom Cruise, Night and Day, they didn't really pan out that well. They weren't really well received. So maybe he understands what his lane is, and he's just going to stay there, which is maybe a shame, because I agree with you. I'd love to see him do like a smaller Star Wars, independent Star Wars movie. That'd be great.
All right, let's move on to the last buy or sell. Wendy, what do we got?
Focus Features has released the new trailer for 7 Days in Entebbe, starring Daniel Brawl and Rosamund Pike. The movie is based on true story of 4 hijackers in 1976 who took over a plane flying from Tel Aviv to Paris and forcing it to land in Entebbe, Uganda. Their demand was to have dozens of Palestinian terrorists released. The film is directed by Jose Padilla and will be released on March 16th, 2018. Perri, buy or sell the first trailer for 7 Days in Entebbe?
I buy it. I like this cast, and that was probably the first thing that piqued my interest about this. And then when I was watching the trailer, I was pretty into it. I think it feels like two different trailers where the beginning feels a little more, I guess, dark and character driven, but then when the music kicks in, all of a sudden it feels a little more action thriller-ish. So I'm curious to see how all that comes together, but I did really appreciate how this trailer presented so many different perspectives on this one event, and I was still able to piece everything together. So even though tonally it might have felt different, I think everything else did come together pretty well in this. So, I'm not flipping out about it, but I'm interested enough to buy it.
Yeah, I was on the fence on this one. I mean, I'll buy it for now, but like you, the trailer for me, yeah, the beginning starts like it's like a realistic great thing, and then once the music starts, I kind of felt a little weird about it because this was such a serious thing, and it was more like an action movie. The director, Jose Padilla, yeah, the RoboCop movie, I remember liking the first half of it and then not liking the second half. Narcos I enjoy, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but I don't know if I'm dying to see this film. Rocha?
Yeah, it's ironic because I just complained about the Patty Hearst thing, but I actually like this trailer. I bought this trailer, and it's not gonna escape comparisons to Munich. That's for damn sure.
That's the first thing I thought of when I saw it.
Yeah, and I think everyone's going to, but I love Daniel Bruhl as an actor. I really enjoy him. And Rosamund Pike. Rosamund Pike's one of these actresses that had to pay her dues in the beginning, playing these kind of femme fatale roles or kind of like arm candy roles. And she's really come out. Like Gone Girl's the one that you were like, yes, what have I been saying to you for 10 years? This woman can act, and I want her to have more and more access to these parts that really show what she can do as an actress. In Jack Reacher, she's essentially wasted as a female in distress, and it's such a waste because she has so much more to bring. And so for me, and you can see that scene on the plane, and then that scene when they're going to shoot the 2 kids, possibly, all of that, you could see she has a power that isn't forced, it isn't a lie. And so it's nice to see that. And I agree, Padilla does a great job on Narcos, so I want to see what they do with this. I think you're right. The song was a little, but the scenes look like they have the right tone, and the Idi Amin stuff coming in, because Idi Amin gave these terrorists sanctuary in Entebbe, and this whole mission came together in 2 days. So when you see that in the film, it's going to blow your mind to see how they were able to do this so quickly. And I think it might end up being a more satisfying film than Munich.
All right, before we move on to mailbag, and a reminder, you're going to take your live tour questions at the end of the show. Also a reminder, we got a bunch of cool things going on here at Collider Video. We dropped another top 50 today. If you've been following our series, there's been a lot of discussion and debate on each one. Check that out. We drop that on every weekday. Also, reminder to follow us on Collider Video on Twitter and Instagram. Also, we had a brand new Jedi Council. This is the last Jedi Council before Christian and Ken and the rest of us see Star Wars: The Last Jedi. You're seeing it on Monday. It's not like you're.
All right, let's trade places, Dennis.
Well, it says non-transferable on my invitation, Rocha.
Fair.
Just keep the burn coming, Dennis.
But you will see it before everyone else as well. There's also a brand new Schmodown today. It's a Star Wars 5-way Schmodown. Brand new awesome tackler today. Also, Rocha, you got look. Okay, we got to go to Star Wars, but you got to do a cool thing a couple weeks ago. Why don't you tell people about it?
Yeah, it was a very great experience to be sent by Collider to interview The Rock, Kevin Hart.
Where'd you go again?
I went to
Where'd you go?
Hawaii. I went to Hawaii.
Exactly.
To Oahu.
Where'd you stay?
The Four Seasons.
There were ATVs involved?
Yeah, I got to ride ATVs.
Don't nobody cry for Rocha. Okay?
How many days were you there?
3. But
Vacation?
really, I was working the whole time. There's no vacation.
Working on
ATV
that
doesn't look like
ATV.
work.
Yeah.
When you're getting texts from work the whole time you're there and emails, you're not really relaxing. So, but but the video will be up. I think it's up now. Actually, you can go and take a look once the movie talk is over. You can watch my interview with The Rock and Kevin Hart and Jack Black. And trust me, it's a blast. It's so much fun, and they were willing to do what I asked them to do. And so I think you guys are going to really, really enjoy this, especially fans of the Schmodown. You're really going to enjoy this. Yeah.
And also, we dropped a brand new Ladies' Night hosted by Alicia Gaynor with YouTube comedian superstar Mamrie Hart. We have a little clip for that right now.
Let it be known, I said I wasn't drinking today.
I know, I'm so sorry. I hope you don't feel peer pressure.
Honestly, it's like I felt like those, like a dog that has a piece of cheese on its nose, just like, can I eat it? Can I eat it?
So you guys can check that out on our YouTube channel today. Wendy, what do we got for mailbag?
This one comes from Kyle Marquise, who writes, "Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Big fan of you guys since the AMC days, and it was great meeting a lot of you at Star Wars Celebration as Schnepp at Pensacon last year. My question is about Episode 8's possible impact on the rest of the Star Wars franchise. Now, I have faith in Rian Johnson, but for the sake of argument, let's just say the movie comes out and it gets less than stellar reviews, and its tomato meter is between 60% to 75%. What do you think? What do you think happens to his trilogy? Would it be in danger of not happening, delayed, more studio involvement, and how would it affect Episode 9? Thank you for your time, and may the Force be with you."
Rocha, what do you think?
I would be 1,000,000% surprised if this film isn't amazing and blows the doors off the franchise, because you don't hand a guy a 3-film trilogy to relaunch a trilogy without any of these older characters unless you have faith in what he's already done. So there's no way this happens. But if for some reason our expectations are so lofty because of all this stuff beforehand, we go in and we're slightly disappointed, as long as it makes its money, I'm not going to have a problem. And there's no way 9 isn't going to happen. So they'll just make mid-course adjustments. And you have to understand they had to adjust on Leia being taken out on the fly. So there's all this stuff that's happening behind the scenes that that it sounds like they got right from what we're getting the indications from sources. So to me, it's a good question, a valid question. I think if all this other stuff wasn't happening outside of it, I would be even more worried about answering this question correctly. But the fact that it seems pretty positive, I don't think anything's going to happen.
Perri?
I'm pretty much going to echo what you just said. I would be floored if this movie is not good enough to justify Rian Johnson coming back to do a trilogy. Why would they have announced that so close to the release of The Last Jedi if maybe they hadn't done some sort of test screening where everything was positive coming back? And really, when you're talking about a tomato meter score of between 60 and 75%, let's say it winds up on the high end of that, 75, I still think that would be high enough for everybody to stay faithful in Rian Johnson continuing on with all of this. But really, I don't think we're going to be in a place where we're seriously answering this question Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, 60 to 75 is, even though that would be a little disappointing to Disney because they probably are looking for the 80s, 90s, it's not the end of the world. It's not a catastrophic. I mean, that's still a certified fresh score. And also, studios care about box office. That's what they care about. They want to know, is the movie going to make money and how much money? And is the audience going to care about? Now, the only reason I think they would do some sort of course correction is, let's say it doesn't make as much money as they had thought it was going to. They're getting audience feedback going, oh, they were disappointed, this and that. That's the only way. I don't foresee that happening. I think they have this kind of formula ready for this film. So and they have confidence in it. They wouldn't have brought Rian Johnson back. They must be watching this thing in the test screen and watching the reaction to it and going, wow, this is great. We want him back, not just for episode 9 because they got JJ for that, but for a whole brand new trilogy. So I just don't see it happening. And if it does happen, it'd have to be more catastrophic than just a 60 to 75 Rotten Tomatoes score. Wendy, what do you think?
I mean, I don't think it's going to get the 65 to 75% Rotten Tomatoes, but for argument's sake, no, I can't even justify that in my head. That Disney, Kathleen Kennedy would hand Rian Johnson the trilogy, the new trilogy, to continue on the Star Wars story or to start, a new trilogy, if they hadn't already seen this movie and are very, very confident in it. And it would just create so much like drama and gossip online too in this like digital media world. If after the first weekend it comes out and all of a sudden it's announced Rian Johnson no longer doing the trilogy and everything explodes all over again. And I just don't think Disney, Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, any of those people would take that risk. Yeah. And they're confident. And I'm so excited to see it on Saturday. Sorry, Rocha.
All right, guys. Now we're on to your live Twitter questions. Wendy, what do we got?
All right, this first one comes from Steve Grant 9, who writes, given Perry's reaction to Jurassic Park, what is the last... It's good, it's fine. What is the last big action blockbuster with a great and interesting story? Was it Winter Soldier?
Well, if we're bringing up Winter Soldier, I would say Civil War. I love Civil War. I just rewatched Civil War 2, and there's so many little details in that are just so strong. And it's got great action, obviously the airport scene, but really just all of the character-driven moments and how it changes so many heroes that we already knew for a certain something, and they come out of that movie not entirely different people, but in different positions and with more added insight into how they're going to have to operate as superheroes going forward. I think that is just such a rich movie on so many levels. But that's the first thing that popped in my mind because you said Winter Soldier.
That's what was in the question.
Yeah.
Well, if we're going off the parameters of Perry in the trailer, I would say Star Wars, like the reboot of Star Wars. That's the idea that you're bringing in these new characters. Everyone was super excited about Rey, super excited about Finn and Poe Dameron and stuff. So we were all excited to get back into this world, and the trailers really got you there. And the Last Jedi trailers have even more gotten even more excited. I mean, we shot one on a plane, for God's sakes. Like there are a lot that came through there that got me super excited.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about blockbuster. I mean, we mentioned Logan before. I thought that was a fantastic story, and that was not as quite a big budget as some of these other ones. I mean, me and Perry talked about it when $97 million, while low for a superhero movie, is still quite high. All right, what's next?
All right, this one comes from Janine DeBean, who writes, recently saw Goonies on the big screen and forgot how great the opening scene was.
Fantastic movie.
Yes.
It is.
Jailbreak leading into a high-speed chase that clearly interacts with all the leads. What is your favorite film opening for her? Up, Watchmen, Dark Knight, all comes to mind.
Oh, wow. We were just talking about this, I think, on Mailbag, and I know both of us went for Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah, that one's great. I mean, Dark Knight has a great one as well.
And I think, obviously, I actually said Scream and Jurassic Park. That Jurassic Park opening scene used to scare the crap out of me when I was little, and I loved it.
There Will Be Blood had a great opening.
For 6 minutes of Baby Driver is pretty
And really,
good.
I think the beginning of most Zack Snyder films, because one of my favorite Zack Snyder thing in any movie is the opening credits. So thinking about Watchmen and how that begins and leading into the opening credit sequence, I do love that one as well.
For me, it's classics. Like Once Upon a Time in the West is such a great beginning because so quiet.
It's great.
You just hear that. You hear all that. I think I like the opening of Raiders of the Lost Ark. I think that's a fantastic opening with all that going for what he was going for. And then, of course, Touch of Evil. That whole opening, that's 3.5 minutes of one shot. It's fantastic. So those are those kinds of things that I really enjoy. And The Godfather. Just that whole opening where he's just like He just comes out and he's just like in the dark and he's just talking to the Godfather. It's such it gets you right into the mood of the movie. It doesn't have to be big explosions or blah, blah. Like all the James Bond films always have great openings. Like Casino Royale, that's an awesome opening with black and white. The fight in the bathroom is great. But with Godfather, you just have just a guy coming out of the darkness to talk and play and pay fealty to the Godfather. So I love that. Yeah.
All right, let's do one more.
Okay, this is a cool one, I think. Joe Carlton writes, hey, Collider, is there a movie character you would like to see have his or her mantle or title passed down, just like the Dread, he wrote Dead, Dread Pirate Roberts from The Princess Bride? It's easy to say Batman or James Bond, so get creative.
Boba Fett. I think that's how Boba Fett survives and lives. Is not the same person who was Boba Fett at first. Boba Fett is such a perfect Dread Pirate Roberts. It's the name that sells the thing. It's not who's in the cost. It's the name. So I would love to see. That's the way he got out of the Rancor pit. Didn't, but somebody took his mantle and became the bounty hunter. And the legend that he survived the Rancor pit, brings it up.
Yeah,
is that right? No, I'm sorry. What's the pit? Is it not the Rancor pit? What am I talking about?
The Sarlacc pit?
Sarlacc pit. Sorry. When he survives the Sarlacc pit. Listen, I'm getting old.
Schmodown point for Wendy.
I'm getting old.
You earned that.
You did. The Sarlacc pit. That's what I meant, the Sarlacc pit.
I was too busy trying to think of an example here.
I'm wondering if they're going to do that with Iron Man, like...
Oh, yeah.
Like, because, Robert Downey Jr. is not exactly wanting to do the solo movies anymore. Is he going to... I don't think they'll kill off his character, but maybe pass it on to somebody else. I'm not sure. I mean, Captain America, there was... a few Captain Americas in the comic books,
right.
Where other people took over, so maybe there.
Well, that's where I was just going to go when you brought up Iron Man, because clearly you guys know I'm placing my bets on Captain America being the one to go at the end of Avengers 4, so it would make sense for someone to assume that role in some degree at least, and you can kind of say something similar might happen with Wolverine also. I don't really think they could ever replace Hugh Jackman in that role, because it's not the same thing like when you're talking about Bond, someone else stepping into that kind of part, and also because Hugh Jackman just made it his own so much. But if we do wind up getting that X-23 movie, and between her abilities and what she learned from him in Logan, if she kind of carries the torch in some way.
Yeah. All right, guys, that's it for this episode of Collider Movie Talk. Thanks for joining us. I want to thank the people joining us at the table today. Perri, where can people find you?
Twitter and Instagram at Perri Nemiroff. Also, look out for the Jurassic World trailer reaction I did with that. And then I believe later today we're going to have a Jumanji review up for you, too.
Rocha.
I was not allowed to be on that Jumanji review. Apparently, my enjoyment of Hawaii would have affected my opinion. But I respect that. But you can watch the interview I have with The Rock and Kevin Hart and Jack Black. It should be up now on the channel. Follow me at The Rocha Says. And a new episode of the Cinephiles, Cine-Files on iTunes, Stitcher, and now Spotify. Scott Mance joins us to talk Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And if you've listened to the previous two episodes with Scott, this one is even better.
Wendy?
You can find me on YouTube at The Movie Couple channel and on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat at Wendy Lee Zaney.
Thanks to Adam and Cody in the back. You guys can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero, Instagram, Dennis.tzng. Yeah, and if you guys want to check out, I'm sure myself, Perri, Wendy, and a bunch of other of us are going to post pictures from the red carpet for Star Wars The Last Jedi tomorrow night. So see you guys next time.
I'll Photoshop you into
Hey everybody, Mark Ellis here. Thanks for watching this episode of Collider Movie Talk. You want to watch more? Then click up here, or you can click right here for more great content from Collider. And if you haven't subscribed to Collider Video, do so right now and share this vid with your friends. Thanks for watching.